Top of the day to you and welcome to today's Bible discussion. We are still dwelling on the theme correcting wrong practices and teachings in Christianity. Our today's focus is going to be on the teaching that is so common, which says if you don't pay tithe, you are robbing God and you will become poor. My name is Ume Stephen. I preach for Church of Christ, ATC Jalingo, Taraba State, Nigeria. I implore you to stay tuned as we do these studies together. In 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse number 2, the Bible enjoins us to preach the word, to correct, to rebuke with great patience. So what we are doing here is to correct the wrong teachings that are so rampant and common in Christianity today, so that all of us will follow the right thing. So this is not condemning people's practices or teachings, but we want to use the scriptures to help many to know that most of these teachings we see today in Christianity are not teachings of God. So we want to start this discussion with a common passage that is used in supporting this teaching, which is Malachi chapter 3, verse number 10. In this passage, we are told that if you don't pay tithe, you are robbing God. And a lot of people today will tell you that if you don't pay tithe, you will not go to heaven. I've heard people say that. Some people even say that if your life is tight, check your tithe. And so many other things. So all these words are words of intimidation, scaring people so that they will do what they are not supposed to do. But we are going to see all of this in the course of this discussion. So this Malachi chapter 3 verse 10 is often used to support this teaching. Now let's look at the dispensation of tithing. The patriarchal dispensation in Genesis chapter 14 verse 20. We also have the Jewish dispensation in Deuteronomy chapter 12 verse 26. So these are the two dispensations that tithe was practiced on. Now I want us to look at those who gave tithes. Abraham willingly gave tithe to Melchizedek. In Genesis chapter 14 verse 18 through 20, you see the record there. Jacob vowed to give tithe to God. In Genesis chapter 28 verse 20 to 22, you can also see the record there. The 11 tribes of Israel also gave tithe. You see the record in Numbers chapter 18 verse 20 to 22. Nehemiah chapter 10 37 to 38. Those who received tithe, the high priest and the priest. In Numbers chapter 18 verse 7 verse 1 to 7, Nehemiah chapter 13 verse 1 verse 11 to 13, you can see the record there. These people who received tithe, they received tithe because God said they should not be included in the sharing of the land. Remember when they left the land of Egypt and reached the Canaan land, the land that God promised them, the 11 tribes were given the land. By the tribe of Levi, God said they should not be given any portion. And so God said, when you now farm, when you now do everything, bring 1/10 of everything you have and give to this particular tribe that has no share in the land. The strangers also received tithe. The strangers, the fatherless, and widows received tithe. You can see the record in Deuteronomy 14 verse 29, and you'll see other references there. Also, I want us to understand that the command of tithing was only given to the Jews. Only given to the Jews. You see the record in 2 Chronicles chapter 31, verse 4 to 5. This is just the background information of what I want us to know about tithe. I want you to stay tuned as we bring to you another part concerning this tithe. Thank you. This is the concluding part of the topic. If you don't pay tithe, you are robbing God and you become poor. We want to give you some points you need to consider. In the first part, we say that the passage that is often used to support this teaching is Malachi 3:10. However, I want us to understand that Malachi 3:10 was not addressed to Christians, but the Jews. You see, the Bible is written in such a way that you don't just say everything in the Bible is for you. Maybe one of these days I will take time to explain to us the difference between the Old and the New Testament, so that we have a clear understanding about these two testaments. So Christians were not the one that this message was addressed to, but it was addressed to the Jews. Number 2 point, Christians are not under the law of tithing today at all. You see in Colossians chapter 3, verse 14 to 17, we are told that Christ has laid a law on the cross, including the law of tithing and other practices of the law. So we are not under it. It is not our practice. Number 3 point, no Christian today is robbing God by failing to pay tithe. Let nobody deceive you that you are robbing God when you don't pay tithe. It's a lie, because the practice and the commandment of the payment of tithe was not addressed to Christians, but to the Jews. Another point, which is point number 4, is that tithe was not money, but farm produce. People will shout today and tell you that bring your money, all these kind of things. But they have forgotten that tithe was never cash, but it was farm produce. You can see the record in Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 22, among other references. So for those who advocate and say, bring your money, where do they see that pattern from? Even at the time that it was practicable or it was obtainable, these people could not pay money, but they paid food crops. And I told you in the other lesson the reason why tithe was commanded. Another point I want you to know is that non-payment of tithe is not a reason for poverty today. For those who say that if you don't pay tithe, you become poor, you become wretched, you become like someone who is begging, that is not true. That is not true. Let nobody deceive you. Let us understand that no Christian today is to pay tithe. That is the point I want us to understand. Another point again is that for any Christian today to become rich, for you and I to be rich, you need to strictly adhere to the principles of becoming rich, which is hard working, which is hard work, working hard. There are so many people today who are not Christians, but they are very rich. They don't pay tithes, but they are rich. So what do you say about that? So let us understand that non-payment of tithe is not a reason for poverty. But when you don't work hard, you'll be poor. Even when you pay tithe, but you don't work hard, you'll still be poor. So let us understand and not allow people to deceive us. Another point is that under this Christian dispensation, the command is not tithing, but the command is free will giving. What God asks us to do is to give freely. Nobody is to tell you the amount you are to give. You are to give in keeping to your income. You are to give in keeping to how God has blessed you. You can see the references in 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 6 to 7, Luke chapter 6, verse 38, 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 1 to 2. In this Luke chapter 6, verse 38, the Bible said, the measure you give is the same measure that God is going to give you back. And in this passage, in 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 6 and 7, the Bible teaches that he who sows sparingly will reap sparingly. He who sows bountifully will equally reap bountifully. So it is the measure you give that God is going to bless you in return. So let nobody deceive you. Today, the command is not tithing. The command is free will giving. May God help us so that we run away from these wrong practices and embrace the true teaching of God. God bless this message in your heart. In Jesus' name.